Do you think it's too jolly? Do it looks like I'm taking the mickey? You'll have to let me know in chat. I'll do one with and one without the hat, and we can think about it as we go. Hi. That's too oomph. I'm going to be putting this on True Binaural ASMR. Hi, you're with Scott. This is True Binaural and ASMR. What is it? It's midnight. It's always midnight. This is your right ear and your left ear, because we're just using this little mono mic. I don't go around looking like the conductor every day, do I? The Ganji Kid hat, the Ganji Kid rides. We'll take it off now. We're taking that off. Just starting with the big face and chat. Hi, you're with Scott. This is Ganji Kid. I'm Ganji Kid. This is my stream. Whether it's True Binaural and ASMR, or it will be when I edit it, won't it? So that definitely will be. So, hi, you're with Scott. It's midnight. It's always midnight. This is your right ear and your left ear, because this is in mono. Okay, so on tonight's stream, we're going to be talking about, let me just quickly click on the other window there, the anxiety trap. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Today, we're going to be talking about the anxiety trap. I'm going to try and keep it low key so that we can put this up on True Binaural and ASMR. I'm trying not to get excited about being on stream and to try and keep it nice and steady. Okay. Today we're going to talk about some really interesting ideas. We're going to talk about blame, attacking ourselves, my anxiety, your anxiety, the concept of my anxiety, your anxiety. We're going to look a little bit about something called the self-fulfilling prophecy, and we're going to find out how we can break free of this spiraling problem. If this is the first time you're seeing the new green stream, forget it. They'll understand, won't they? They're cognitive people, they'll understand. This is Mental Health Monday. I'm here every Monday at 8 o'clock so that you know there's somewhere you can come. If you're struggling and you need to talk to someone, you can talk to Samaritans if you're at crisis point. Their details are in the description below. There's also mind.org, a fantastic mental health resource in the description below. And you can talk to us here. We've got the chat. You can talk. I'll talk to you. I can bin off all this stuff that I've planned for tonight. We can do it next week. I can do it midweek if we need to. If there's ever a point where you ever just want to interject and say, hey, I know you've got this thing planned for stream tonight, but I just wanted to say this thing happened and can we talk? Yeah, we can do that. You can always feel. You can just pop into chat and just start chatting. And even though I say for this Mental Health Monday, it's going to get uploaded to YouTube. If you wanted to say, please don't put this on YouTube, then I can edit it out. No problem. Yeah, and if you want to chat and you don't feel chat's appropriate because I'm doing this Mental Health Monday, you can still come in and chat with whatever you want, and I can tell you it's inappropriate if it is. So don't feel hesitant. That's what I want to say. Feel like you can come forward and talk, even if I'm in one of my rants or reading one of my scripts or whatever. You can always just pop in and talk. So for Mental Health Monday today, we're going to start with the anxiety trap. And I'm going to just describe it, I guess. I haven't really written a full script for this. So. The situation is you're so anxious that you can't do X. You can't do the thing. And other people are getting cross and angry at you for not doing the thing. Now, let's say there's a party and people want you to go to this party and you feel more and more anxious about it because you feel anxious about social situations and parties. This is just an example. Insert your anxiety thing here. As it gets closer to the time of doing it, you get more and more anxious. And other people don't perceive this in the same way. They're excited about the party. They're not anxious about it. So they don't see what's going on inside you. They just see that as it gets close to the party, you seem to want to go less and less. When it gets to party day, on the day, it might be the taxis there. Not at the moment because of Corona, of course. But, this is an example. The taxi pulls up and you don't want to get in it and you're having an anxiety issue, like a panic attack. And people just say, oh, isn't this you? Isn't this just you all over? You'd never wanted to come to this party. So now you're having you're causing a thing so you can say you don't have to go. And they don't even believe, maybe, or they don't show you that they believe in your feelings of panic, which to you have been building up over a long period of time. I don't know if you recognise that sort of situation. It might be that you don't go to certain places because they make you feel anxious. A lot of people who suffer with anxiety talk about social anxiety. It might be there's a group of people you've not met before and you feel anxious about going to meet them. So as it gets closer to the time, you feel more anxious and more anxious, and eventually you decide maybe not to go. And it kind of solves the problem in a way, because you don't have to face the thing that made you anxious, and people stop asking you to come to parties. But that's the situation. This is the anxiety trap. And it has this other knock-on effect, like I said, where people get angry at you and they seem to blame you for things that you don't feel in control of. Well, I'm not here to blame you. I'm here to tell you I understand that feeling. I understand what you're talking about, what I'm talking about, what we're talking about. I'm not here to blame you. I'm just going to open up my fake beer. It's not fake. It's just got no alcohol in it, so 0.0. Other brands are available. My apologies. When I'm talking like this, I have to keep wetting the whistle. So that's the anxiety trap. We understand the anxiety trap. I'm just going to bring up a different window now. We're going to move into the web browsing. Here we are. The cognitive triangle. We talked about this in a previous episode, stream, broadcast. How our thoughts and our feelings influence our behaviour, and how our behaviour influences our feelings, and our thoughts can influence our feelings, and our feelings can influence our thoughts. We talked about this on a previous episode, and we talked about the worry tree. Now, I'm not suggesting that the worry tree is going to be able to help you in the anxiety trap of having to go to the party. I think there are some things the worry tree can definitely help you with, so it's worth reviewing the worry tree. But in this situation, we're going to look at a different way of breaking out of the anxiety trap. So I'm just going to start by having this cognitive triangle up on screen while I talk about some things. It's important I make a pointed note at this point that I'm not a therapist. I'm not qualified in therapy. There's a lot of people on YouTube who are not qualified as therapists, who are offering some sort of therapeutic option. I'm not claiming this that we're doing today is therapy. I think a good therapist can do things within a therapy session. It's such a heavy word, isn't it? Therapy, within a conversation. A good therapist can do things or allow things to happen naturally within that conversation to guide that conversation. I think, excuse me, I'm just going to move my microphone slightly. I think our work here, even on a interactive forum like Twitch or YouTube, our work here in video format is limited. And there are things that I'd really wish, when we're talking about this anxiety trap, I wish we could have a two-way conversation about it. I wish there are things that you could discover organically yourself, because often part of the problem with the anxiety trap is that any kind of outside input or suggestion it's like there's an automatic barrier to some of them. And it's difficult to enter into the mind of the person in the anxiety trap, because part of the anxiety trap is to prevent the outside influence from taking effect in positive and negative ways. So this is difficult. So I'm not blaming you. I'm not trying to ascribe blame to you. You feel anxious, it builds up, and then it prevents you from doing things. And people tell you that you should do these things, and they don't understand how the anxiety is preventing you from doing them. I'm here to say I understand. In a previous video, we talked about routine, and we talked about how establishing a good routine, sleeping, waking, exercise, eating, these sort of things were important to keep ourselves healthy, selves mentally healthy. And we talked about being positive to ourselves, allowing ourselves time to deal with things, to grow, to strengthen, to recover, these sort of concepts. Inbuilt in all that is an idea about responsibility. You know, at times in life, it's important that we try and take care of ourselves. And at times in life, it's important that we try and be responsible for ourselves, to look after ourselves. A lot of the time when people talk about responsibility, certainly when they're talking down to you or prescribing their attitude on you, you know, they say, take responsibility for your actions, as if you're not trying, as if you're not, as if you don't want to make things better, as if it's easy and you're just being belligerent. That's not what I'm saying here. Okay? But I am talking to you, on equal. I suffer with the same anxiety. I've been through this whole thing. So I understand. So I'm trying to help. That's just knocked my thumb on the table then. Ouch. Trying to help anyway. So the theme that's going to run through today's video is that responsibility, that attempt within ourselves to say, look, this is my life, these are my feelings, this is my brain. There's lots of things I can't control, but I might have a go at trying something different with this setup, because what I've got going on at the moment isn't quite working for me, isn't quite allowing me to be everything I want to be. And maybe sometimes, as we'll see in this process, maybe part of the anxiety trap is that it is allowing you to be what you want to be, and what you want to be is at home and away from the anxiety, and it feeds into itself this cognitive triangle of thoughts, feelings, behaviours. Maybe while you're in that cognitive triangle cycle, behaviours are influencing your feelings, so you feel like you really do think a certain thing and feel a certain way, So a responsibility to ourselves to test things, to try things, to look for alternatives, even if we're not going to settle on them, even if we're not going to become the fitness up in the morning, doing me exercises, running around the block, and even if that's not quite us, even if we don't see ourselves in that sort of way, we're going to attempt to allow ourselves to take some responsibility of our own setup and say, look, I'm going to be a bit more. I'm going to allow myself to, experiment with this idea of myself. I'm going to have a go at that. I'm going to try. And when I talk about trying, there's this concept of effort, this theme that runs through this today. People that blame you for the anxiety trap, the people that get cross with you for your anxiety trap inability to do X, Y, Z, it's like they think you're not trying and you're not making the effort. And I'm here today to say, I understand that you make an awful lot of effort, but maybe this anxiety trap, when this cognitive triangle goes bad, maybe that is making you think that you're making the effort and pushing you into making an effort on things that might not be that advantageous. Maybe we need to redirect the effort, and maybe we can try something different with our effort. I'm not here to get cross and say, oh, you're not even trying. That's not it at all. But I am going to tell you that you will need to try. Nothing happens automatically. Some people are naturally talented at something, but unless they even try the activity, they don't even find out they have the talent. So we are going to have to try some stuff. We're going to have to try. And during the process of trying, we're going to fail. I'll tell you that right now. That's going to happen all the way through life. There's going to be ups and downs. And my nan used to say, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And that's what we've got. We've got waves, ups and downs, successes, some failings, some time to recoup, some time to replenish and try again. That's all I'm asking, is a little bit of effort, At the end of the day, we all make effort in different ways. And sometimes the effort feels knocked out of us through depression. And this triangle is like a vicious cycle, and it can take you down. And the less effort you put in, the less energy you have to put in more effort. But that can work the other way as well. And we're going to make a bit of an attempt to allow our recharging batteries to fuel further efforts. I'm going to read a little bit from a book, but I'm not really going to read from it. I once read a little chapter or some sections from this book in a YouTube video. I made a YouTube video to essentially promote the book and the ideas from it. And it got taken off YouTube because it was copyright for me reading the book. So I'm going to be careful about how we read the book. But there's a chapter in this book which is quite a good book. I'm not here to sell this book. Mark Williams this is the book, so now you've seen it, and this is Mark Williams, an established and reputable psychologist. That's where this is coming from. And why I can't just read it out, because they want to make money off the selling of the book. And maybe he should. Maybe Oxford University are not paying him enough. Or maybe this information should be put out there for people to share so they can improve their lives. I don't know where to start. This chapter is called Why Do We Attack Ourselves? And it talks about this character, Lucy, who is relatively successful, but she has problems in her life completing projects, and she's punishing herself with critical thoughts, feeling burned out, and why don't I feel this, or why don't I have that, and why isn't it working out the way I wanted, or whatever. And it goes on to say that she's not really unique, that anxiety, stress, depression are common things in life, common things in humanity, and that if you asked her, she would probably say she was feeling exhausted or tense, but this is Mark Williams and Danny Penman, they make an argument that those feelings of exhaustion or tension are not the core, the root, more an overarching concept that is full of other things, like the desire to scream, they say, or storm out the room. Emotions, and they describe them as a sort of background sound or background colour. I describe them as a background sound, they use colour. And then they're talking about thoughts and moods, and then they get onto this. It's very much like the cognitive triangle. And they talk a little bit more about its origins, which is what we're going to do today, because I learned about more of this sort of stuff in sociology in school and university. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But the more important factor from this book, which I'm not going to read, is that the triggering of negative thoughts and moods can sort of wear grooves in the mind, and it becomes a regular thought process that you feel comfortable with, in a way, nagging, grinding, and that itself grinds you down and you feel more of it. And the reason they suggest is that our human psychology, our human anatomy, the brain, the way it works, it creates a fight or flight reaction, and that we should do things when we feel anxious. That anxiety is a natural human feeling, and that our natural human response is to act and to fix things, or to run away, and, remove ourselves from the threat. And this is probably why, or they suggest one of the reasons why, the anxiety trap is so difficult to get out of. Because you can't solve the problem of unhappiness or some other negative emotion by going out and doing something. Should I read this bit? It works like this. You see yourself in a place unhappy, and you know where you want to be is happy. So your mind analyses the gap between the two things and tries to work out the best way of bridging it. And to do so, it's using its doing mode. I think I'm allowed to read a short passage if I'm talking about the book. The doing mode works by progressively narrowing the gap between where you are and where you need to be. And it breaks the problem into pieces and reanalyzes those pieces to see if you've got closer to your goal. And it often happens really quickly, and you might not be aware it's happening. It's a powerful way of solving problems. They give an example, and this is a good example of walking through a park on a beautiful day, and you might feel hungry, or maybe I'll change their example so I don't get done for copyright. You might see something bad that makes you unhappy, like someone's throwing some rubbish on the floor, some litter, and you think, oh, that's a terrible, why is someone throwing that piece of trash on the floor? Trash for our American friends. That's made me unhappy. And then you start to think, well, I always feel unhappy. I can't even take a walk in the park without feeling down about some little thing. Why do I let the whole world get me down? It's because the whole world's rubbish and I'm rubbish. And, you've gone from it's a lovely day to everything's rubbish and I'm rubbish. And it's a natural thing that you sort of routinely go through. So you say to yourself, this is how life is, this is the norm, this is normal. But this, they propose, is because your brain focused on the gap between your happiness or your perceived where you want to be and the reality. There's some rubbish on the floor, and your brain focused on the gap and highlighted it, brought it to your attention, a problem to be solved. And this is disastrous because emotions, and here we go into the cognitive triangle, you can start to think and feel a certain way. Well, that affects your thoughts, doesn't it? And that affects your behaviour. So then you don't go to the park because you've solved the problem of the rubbish in the world. Your mental problem-solving device is trying to fix a thing that you can't fix. People throw their rubbish in the world, and it's trying to fix it quickly for you. And you've come to a conclusion and you've got into a routine. So you just stop doing the things that make you unhappy. But maybe it wasn't the going to the park that made you unhappy. Maybe it was this thought triangle and something breaking into that and trapping you in the anxiety trap. And as I said, this thought triangle, it can be, it's in nice colours, so it looks nice, but it can be devastating. If your thoughts go bad, your feelings can go bad, and then your behaviour can go bad, which makes your thoughts go bad. And It's an anxiety trap. Brooding over problems is a toxic way of thinking. We talked about worry time. Naturally, you're going to want to solve problems in your life. That's natural. But brooding, it can lead you through a mill of this cognitive triangle in a bad way. So we're going to offer a way to break out of the anxiety trap. We're going to offer a way out. We're going to talk about that. But before we do, we're going to talk about the self-fulfilling prophecy, because I trust you with something more, with something a little more heavy duty than the cognitive triangle. I trust you with something a little more heavy duty. This self-fulfilling prophecy, the concept, it originated in, 1948. And this fellow, Robert K. Merton, wrote a paper. He was professor of sociology at Columbia University. At the time, these were cutting-edge ideas, and they're still pretty modern. Unfortunately, and certainly unfortunately for me as a sociology student back then, I could never remember the dates and the names of all these people, and it got quite complicated when you read through the original article. If men define situations as real, of course that's sexism. If people define situations as real, they're real in their consequences, wrote Professor Thomas. The suspicion that he was driving at a crucial point becomes all the more insistent when we note that essentially the same theorem has been repeatedly set forth by disciplined and observant minds long before Thomas. He talks about Hegel and Marx, which is interesting. So it's all there for you to read, the self-fulfilling prophecy. But I'm not going to expect you to wade through the Antioch Review. So instead, we've got a much more light-hearted article in Positive Psychology, and we're just going to take an excerpt from it to look at the self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's basically the idea that it's a belief or an expectation that an individual holds about a future event, and that expectation, that belief, manifests, becomes real because you think about it. Now, I'm not trying to make some magic call to the universe here. I'm not trying to say, you can think things into existence with self-fulfilling prophecy. But in a way you can. In the same way as everything in your life is brought into existence through your mind's insistence that you're going to do it. I want to have that beer come to me, that fake beer. I'm going to get it. I have manifested it through my self-fulfilling prophecy that I believe, wait, let's do this properly. I believe I can pick up that beer and bring it to my mouth and take a little sip. The fake beer, non-alcoholic, lovely. I made it happen through my belief that I could do it. Now, day to day, you don't have to put your belief into picking up your drink. You don't have to consciously do that. But there are things in life that you automatically believe you can do. So you just go ahead and do them. There are things in life that you might want to do in the future. And if you believe you can do it, you'll try and you may achieve it. In fact, the belief that you can do it might be so powerful that you do eventually achieve it. Certainly, this works the other way. And this is where I'm trusting us to be able to have a conversation, a one-way video conversation. Do you think it works the other way? Have a little think. You know? Do you think there's ever been a situation where you may have been able to do something, but you said to yourself, I don't know about that. No, I'm not sure. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like that and then had a go and you could do it? They're just little more direct, indirect actions. Can I throw the dart in the dartboard? I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, I can. This is a bigger concept, though. This talks about things like telling a child one day you could be a racing driver, and telling a different child you're never going to be any good at driving. And reinforcing these ideas and beliefs in them, and then putting them into the world, and lo and behold, the ones that you encouraged turn out to be better drivers. I haven't got a study to prove that, but there are studies that prove similar things about IQ. They told some kids that they were going to be thickies, and they told some, well, they didn't say that. They didn't, sorry. That happens in schools though. It might happen in schools these days. It happens in the world. But in the study, they gave children an arbitrary IQ test, and then they told them at the end that this group, you've done really well. You've got a high IQ. And they didn't say to the other people, you've done really well. They just said nothing. And then they retested them at the end of the school year, and the group that felt they had the high IQ test at the start of the school year did better at the end, because self-fulfilling prophecy. They spent the whole year feeling like they were able to learn better because they were smart, and it proved itself out in that they learned better and became smarter. So yeah, this is a real thing. If you wake up and immediately think, today's going to be terrible, you might be able to make your prediction come true. You might unconsciously work to affirm your belief by ignoring anything positive and amplifying the negatives, and behaving in ways that are unlikely to contribute to an enjoyable day. This is heavy, and it feels like ascribing blame, and I've not read this through before. I'm going to react to it, and we're going to talk about it together. So self-fulfilling prophecy works like this, but it's hard for you to think I'm creating my own self-fulfilling prophecy when the world's been applying its own fulfilling prophecies onto you. We do want to take this back to the idea of the anxiety trap of the party, and try and calm down as well, because this is for true binaural, so it's got to be spoken in such a way that it's not going to disturb people who are listening in a relaxed and calm environment. I don't want to wake the baby. There is no baby, that's an expression. So, for the party, you might think to yourself, there's this party coming up. I'm going to have a problem meeting these new people because I feel anxious about that. That's one of the things of my anxiety that I've got a problem with. And that's something that was in my little notes that I want to come to, and I've lost my little notes. So there's my little notes. Let's get them out again. What I've written is my anxiety. Have you heard that phrase, my anxiety? Have you used that phrase, my anxiety? It's one that actually annoys me a little bit, because having suffered with anxiety, knowing that you suffer with the anxiety, I do feel that they're similar. The anxieties, the feeling of anxiety might be similar amongst the people that feel it. I feel that might be the case. And so sometimes I want to say, hey, it's not just your anxiety. It's not just mine. It's our anxiety. It's the anxiety. And to try and separate the anxiety that affects all of us. We're in this together. We're feeling this together. I'm feeling it. You're feeling it. You're feeling it. I'm feeling it. To try and separate the anxiety from us. So it still exists, but we think of it as a separate thing. The anxiety that goes on. We all feed into it, like the consciousness. Just for a minute, just think of it like this, because if it's just your anxiety, if it's just my anxiety, then that's part of this self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? You're labelling it as mine. It's something that I do. It's something that you do. It's part of you. And if it's part of you, then it's going to influence the way you become. You've already said to yourself, I can't go to the party because I feel anxious when I go to parties. You've already predicted the future there. You prophesied it, and you're going to make it come true. And again, it sounds like I'm blaming you. We make it come true. don't we? We make it come true. And finding that out, accepting it, and I feel a lot of people, this is the difficult bit. This is why it has to be something you think about yourself and discover yourself, read through yourself, decide if you do, decide if you don't. A lot of people will say, well, actually, no, hang on. I'm not doing this to myself. The party's coming and I'm feeling anxious. I'm not pressing my anxiety button. I'm not trying to make myself anxious. You know, when people say, blame you never wanted to come to the party anyway, it's not because you didn't want to. You know, this sounds like that. It's like saying, well, you never did. You self-fulfilling prophecy. You proved yourself right. You were never going to come anyway. You made it happen. So it's not about ascribing blame. And the feeling that you're being blamed makes it very difficult to look and say, look, maybe I'm going to be the one to break this cycle. Maybe I'm going to be the one to make the push. Because you're the one with the anxiety, my anxiety. And it can't be anyone else's opinion that can help you, because they don't feel it. It's not their anxiety. It's my anxiety. It's your anxiety. So I'm going to say, yeah, let's move my anxiety and let's try and shift it. And let's blame the anxiety if we have to. If we're going to blame anyone and anything, let's blame the rest of the world for making us constantly stress and worry. And let's blame advertising for constantly making us think that we have to buy things and worry if we don't buy the things, then problems might occur. And you know, let's thank Peppa Pig for infecting children's minds with ideas about self-image. But let's not try and blame ourselves anymore. If anything, let's be able to try and step away and let's create our own self-fulfilling prophecy that says, I'm going to have a little go. I'm going to have a little try. I'm going to scroll down now. I'm going to just bin off all the rest of self-fulfilling prophecy. Robert Merton there he is. There's a photo of him. The fella. He coined the phrase self-fulfilling prophecy as a false definition of the situation, evoking a new behaviour which makes the originally false conception come true. And it's quite highbrow, you know, clever words again, isn't it? But they give an example here of the placebo effect, which is interesting. You believe the placebo pill works. People do. The placebo effect. They're given a pill and it's just inert sugar, and they feel they might get better. So their feelings about what might happen influenced how things ended up happening, or at least how they felt about things happening, which, of course, in the cognitive triangle, influences everything. This is a more complex self-fulfilling prophecy cognitive triangle. It's not even a triangle anymore. Now we're going round in a circle. And this is the key to the anxiety trap, is that it's a circle. It's cyclical. And at some point you've got to be able to put your finger in the wheel and jump it off its track and say, hang on, I'm not going to stay in this circle anymore. I'm going to tell you how to do that after we've talked about this, what it is. We're going to move on to how to fix it. It's a circle. And if you're on that ride and if you're going round, your beliefs influence your expectations. I'm going to be anxious. I know I am. I expect I'm going to be. And that influences your behaviour. I don't want to go. And the results are that it reinforces your belief. When I did try and go, I started feeling anxious. Because that's what I do. I get anxious and then I got overworked and wound up, and, you know, it's a circle. It's basically, isn't this basically the cognitive triangle? Only the cognitive triangle is purely implicit to us. It's our own internal monologue. It's our thoughts and our feelings and our own behaviours. Whereas the self-fulfilling prophecy includes other people. Other people can tell you that you're a strong person or that you're a bit of a wimp. Other people can tell you that you're smart or that you're not very good at maths. Other people can put their ideas about your future, strongly into your mind, into the fore. You should do this, you will do that. You're just like your dad. People tell you what's going to happen in your future. Oh, you'll have to get a job at some point. People tell you things and they influence how you feel about yourself. They become your mental image of who you are. And then you end up becoming that. It's not just pseudoscience. It's not just a silly idea. And it's not just logical and obvious. It goes deep. There are these clever people writing big papers. And if you want to go deep, I've shown you where you can get yourself down the rabbit hole. It's also called the Pygmalion Effect. So you might have heard it called that. I think that's based on a play, Pygmalion. But again, our beliefs influence our actions, and they impact our beliefs, and they cause our actions, which reinforce our beliefs. And other people can act on us and toward us. We can act toward other people and influence their beliefs and their ideas, which can influence how they behave. It's got it here. There's another clever fella called Robert Rosenthal. You see, these are people that I should have learned their names and the dates of their studies. I never could learn the names and dates. I could learn the information, but not the names and dates. And there's me. Do you see me doing it? Boom. Mind blown. I've told myself that I'm not good at learning names and dates. It's written down there at the bottom, Rosenthal. And that's what I had to learn. And that's why I am a university dropout. Because I can't learn names and dates. Well, I told it to myself. And I fulfilled my own prophecy. So there you see an example of it. My self-fulfilling prophecy is that I'm not very good at this. And you hear me saying it about myself so naturally, without a second thought. And maybe it's breaking into this cycle that's going to help us. It is a cycle, it says it here. Grief wasn't a cycle, but this is. It's not hard to see that self-fulfilling prophecies can lead to cycles of thought and behaviour. We don't think much about these cycles when the outcomes are positive, but when they're negative, we call them vicious cycles. First, we harbour a belief. These beliefs influence our actions. Our actions are shaped by our beliefs, and then they cause us in ways to act consistent, and we notice the things that we find to be consistent with our beliefs. And is Pygmalion? You see, I should be able to tell you what Pygmalion is. I think Pygmalion is one of those stories where somebody of a lower class or a different order was taken and taught in the same way as other people. And, they turned a commoner into a well-educated upper class. I think that's the gist of Pygmalion. I can't remember. But this cycle talks about here. Teachers may have preconceived notions about their students, but they might see someone promising and others. And this is where it gets much easier to understand, or it did for me. If a teacher's in your class and, there's the bright kid and the teacher thinks they are the bright kid, they've told them they're going to be the bright kid. This self-fulfilling prophecy works on the bright kid. The bright kid's listening and trying to be more attentive. We talked about that. But it also works because the teacher, when they want the right answer, when they want to jog the class along, they move to the bright kid because they think in their head they're the bright. So the teacher keeps reinforcing it because once they've got this preconceived notion, so-and-so is not good at maths. So when the difficult maths puzzle comes up, you might be sat there. You might have been sat there thinking, I know the answer. I know the answer to this one. And they don't come to you because you probably don't know this one. Or they put you in the slow group so you can work on that. We'll move on to because they've already decided that you're not going to know this one. And then your progress is slowed because you can't move on quick, even though you knew it. Even though you knew it. The teacher might reinforce that belief. And then that slows you down because you're in the slow group. You can't move on to the next puzzle quickly. And so you become what they told you would become. A teacher may inadvertently treat the promising students consistent with their beliefs and the troublesome students consistent with their beliefs. And this is a difficult one as well, isn't it? This is moving away from the anxiety trap itself. So we're going to come to that once I've just covered this now. But this is the core of self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay? And then we're going to fix it. We're going to tell you how to fix it. Troublesome students, if you're told you're a troublemaker, if you're told you're naughty, oh, you're bad, naughty, if you're hearing that aggressive tone and you don't know how to engage with the rest of the world, if they're not offering you an alternative, if they're just telling you you're bad, then you might feel angry and upset, mightn't you? You might feel cross, and you might think, "Urgh." And the more that it leads to it's the self-fulfilling prophecy. So it also plays into depression. I'm worthless. I can't function properly. I'm unlovable. No one likes me. They think I'm a downer. I'm not going to go to the party because I get anxious around groups of people. And because I get anxious around groups of people, I don't really have many friends, and they don't invite me to many parties. There's lots more to read on here. So you absolutely can. There's quotes and book recommendations. I'll just pause for just a second before we tell you the final chapter and how we're going to break this cycle. Just to tell you that I really appreciate you being here. That if you've come here because you're struggling with something, you don't have to talk in chat. That's fine. I just appreciate that you're here and that you're putting in, you've put in the effort to at least think about this thing, haven't you? You're here doing it. We're doing the work together. So I really appreciate it. And this Mental Health Monday stream it's not about me and trying to be streaming and views. It's about you and making sure that you know that this is here every Monday, 8 o'clock, and you can come here, we can talk. I'll do the talking if you don't want to, but I congratulate you, and I want to shake your hand because I can't because of coronavirus, but I want to say thanks. You're doing good. You're here, and we're pushing forward together. And that little bit of effort, that little nucleus, that little, the little spark of the fire, even if I'm just a little snowflake, and one little spark of fire can melt me, can't it? That's enough to start the fire, to start the process, to start one little snowflake. You can roll it up, it becomes a big snowball, doesn't it? I just thank you. I thank you for being here and helping us together to do this. So now we're going to look at how we do it. I'm going to pick up the naughty book again. I'm just going to read a little quote. And they do have the exact answer in the whole book entire, but this is not one word answer. But we talked about doing mode, about how your mind wants to access this active doing mode, fight or flight. What am I going to do about this problem? And we're going to suggest that we break out of the doing mode cycle. We're going to break out of this cycle. We're going to put something in the wheel to jump us off the track. Break out of this cycle. And that thing is called awareness or mindfulness. This is why everyone's going on about it all the time. It's not just about meditation. It's now going to become a tool, and we've learned about this together, this mindfulness. We can do a whole episode on mindfulness if you want. Mindfulness is going to be our stick to put in the wheel to break us out of the thing. It says here, pure awareness. It's bigger than thinking. It's unclouded by your thoughts, feeling and emotions. It's like being on a high mountain, a vantage point. Pure awareness transcends thinking. So it's not about working it out. It's about feeling it, allowing things to dissolve, and then taking in your immediate and real surroundings. It allows you to step outside. Sorry, getting excited. It allows you to step outside the chattering, negative self-talk and your reactive influences and your reactive... They can't copyright me if I read the wrong words, can they? It allows you to step outside the chattering, negative self-talk and your reactive impulses and emotions. It allows you to look at the world once again with open eyes. And when you do so, a sense of wonder and quiet contentment begins to reappear in your life. So we're talking about mindfulness and awareness. And it feels like, if you've watched all this, that how can you dare say this to me at the end? My anxiety, my big problem, I can't just solve it with this silly little think about a chocolate and what it tastes like. I propose if you're feeling like that, we try and temper that down, because that's part of the problem cycle. That's the cycle itself, trying to say, I'm not going to let you stick the stick in. You know, the cycle itself does not want to be stopped. And it won't allow you to believe that something simple could become something so powerful. The anxiety doesn't want to let you go. It doesn't want to lose its power over you. But you can gain that power over your anxiety. So it's not just the mindfulness and sticking the stick in. I've got a little bit more to add. I'm going to talk about testing. Go back to cognitive triangle. Go back to the nice cognitive triangle. I'm going to talk about testing. I'm going to talk about finding strength. And I'm going to talk about I can and I can't. Because in this self-fulfilling prophecy, I'm sure I saw one that talked about this. This is an adaptation, this quote. Either way, you're right. Billie Jean King, famous tennis player. I'm now going to try and tell you some stuff that yeah, I'm just going to pull myself together. I'm now going to try and talk about things that were taught to me by someone who recently died. Yeah. It was taught to me in the context of sport. I mean, you don't know this person. I knew them. They were my friend. That's why I'm upset. But it was taught to me in the context of sport. And the idea was that if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you're right. Yeah? Billie Jean King, who was a tennis player, she was a successful female tennis player. In a world where people told her that women couldn't play tennis. And she was the one. Billie Jean King, if you think you can. There you go, there's a million Billie Jean quotes, and not the one I was looking for. But I'm pretty sure this was who I was told said, if you think you can, you can. Yeah. What am I trying to talk about? If you think you can, you can. Belief, yeah. That belief, it's not just Billie Jean King. It's all of you. You know, it's all of you, isn't it? For me, it was a sporting journey. And it's now become this. And for you, it might have been going to the party, or whatever it is. in your life. You know, it's your whole life. You need to know that you can do it, you know? And you need people in your life who know you can do it to tell you. Because you need to internalize that and believe it. And there's not that many of them out there, you know? There's not that many out there that are trying to do the best for you. There's not that many out there that you can trust. Certainly not on these platforms, on Twitter and Twitch and YouTube and that, you know. There's not that many people who are there for that reason. And if you find someone in your life who is, you know, believe them. At least have a go at believing them. If you think you can, you can. And it goes for sport. For me, it was a journey of sport I went on. And I achieved some fantastic things. I'm not going to tell you, I won this brilliant cup. I'm not going to tell you what they were. But for me, I did that. And it wasn't the achievements. It wasn't the... I got selected for England for something. It wasn't the selecting. I mean, for me, it was at the time. But it turned out it was the experience that I went on and the people I went on it with that was important. So I don't know how... Right, okay, yeah. I'm telling you how you're going to do it and how you can do it. And I can do it, you know. Look, I'm putting myself together. I felt sad because I was thinking about my friend. My friend died. They taught me this stuff. But this stuff is good stuff. And it helped me to do great things. So we can do this together. You know, we can do this together. I'm not Superman. I'm not trying to pretend I'm running a marathon. You know, if you buy all these books that I can sell, then, you know, you can be a millionaire. That's not what it's about. We can just get through this like, you know, like friends together, right? So when you're having those bad thoughts, when you're having those thought processes that break you down, you're going to remember this and you're going to think, I'm going to stick a stick in the wheel. I'm just going to take some time to see how I feel, you know, to see what's really going on. I'm not going to let my mind run away with me about all this stuff. I can think about my friend that died tomorrow at midday. I'll have a period of remembrance and I'll get upset again. And I'll do that tomorrow. I'm going to put it in worry time. And right now, I'm going to think, how do I really feel? I feel relatively hot. I feel relatively hot, kind of sweating. I thought I was anxious about performing this video for you today, about talking about these things. I thought I was anxious about it. Maybe it's this that I was anxious about, this emotion. These emotions have been colouring my actions, my behaviour, and my feelings and my thoughts. Now I'm gathering control over my thoughts. I'm gathering control over my emotions. We're going to stick that stick in the wheel and we're going to break that cycle. And now I'm feeling a little bit better. Through talking to you, I've overcome. It's not going to go away forever. It's still going to be there. I'm still going to be able to feel sad about it. But I'm just going to let that dissolve for a while. I'm just going to let everything dissolve for a while. I'm just going to taste this and see how it tastes. It's actually relatively acceptable for an alcohol-free beer. I don't know if you call that malty, or it's definitely the tingle of the bubbles on the tongue. And we're back in the room, you know, we're performing an action together now that we can build on because we know we can. We believe we can. Billie Jean King, if you think you can, you can. You don't have to achieve something extraordinary in the world of tennis, but something like taking control over your emotions and not allowing them to to harm your life in a step-by-step process every day over and over and over again. That's quite extraordinary, to be able to stick your own stick in that wheel, to be able to get that. So we're going to do, we're doing this together. I should wash my hands now, shouldn't I? Otherwise I'm potentially giving everyone that horrid virus. Although I haven't gone out for about a year, so maybe I haven't got it. Anyhow, bringing it back. How are we going to stick the stick in the wheel? Mindfulness. We're going to think about things. We're going to become present in the moment. We're going to allow ourselves these boxed in moments of my little time just to feel, just to come back to the moment, just to let not all this stuff going, not everyone telling me, not me telling myself I'm going to feel anxious. I'm going to pull it back. And then my next idea, the next concept, is testing and trying. Now, it's very difficult talking about social anxiety. Should we get a different picture up for testing and trying new things? If you want to suggest a picture in chat, please suggest one. Otherwise, I'm going to go back to the cognitive triangle. Trying new things. It's not easy, certainly, if you're feeling socially anxious in the current climate. I mean, I'm hoping this video, when I edit it, will last longer than I do. But currently there's a coronavirus issue going on, and it's not easy to try being social because you're enforced social distance. But the concept is, if you're scared about that party or you're anxious about the new friends and the thing, is you don't have to jump right in to the whole shebang all in one. You could drive to the party and not even go in. You could meet up with one person on a different day. You could have a smaller party, like a mini party the week before with your own friends and maybe two people you don't know. You could experiment with the concept. You could try. And I'm not saying it's your fault you didn't go to that fucking party with you. Why don't you try? Because trying to get to the top of the mountain in one big jump is impossible. And our rational thought process brain are breaking it down. How are we going to get this done? It's like, I can't do that. And as soon as you're saying I can't do that, you in that negative part, I can't do it. I think I can, I think I can't, I right. It's true. If you believe you can, it allows you to at least try. And if you're at least trying, then you're on the way to doing. But if you're not trying, if you think you can't and it tells you can't and you won't let yourself, then you're never going to. And you never did. And it's proven that you can't because I tried and I couldn't. Well, try again. We're not going to let that prophecy, that self-fulfilling prophecy, become a horrible reality. We're going to stick our spoke in the wheel. We're going to eventually teach ourselves a new prophecy, which is that I can do things. We're going to find examples in our life of things we've done. If I'm not able to coach you along every step of your life in person, but through this Mental Health Monday, we're going to get through these things. We're going to do things together. And you're going to look back and say, I did that. I moved on from that. I tried this. And sometimes it's going to go wrong. Sometimes you're going to feel really anxious. And we're going to go back a step. We're just going to tone it down a step. We're not going to try and throw you in at the deep end. We're not going to climb the mountain all at once. But we're going to try. We're going to try things because it's fun and it's nice to experiment and explore. And we're going to do it in a sort of soft play area way that we can enjoy, because we don't want to just jump straight headlong into the deep end. We want to have a little paddle about, get used to the temperature of the water, and learn that the water feels nice. And those thoughts and feelings are going to influence our behaviour, and eventually we're going to want to swim down to the deeper end and dive down to the bottom even. We're going to go all the way to the bottom and come right back up to the top. We're not going to do it in the first day. We're going to try things and make little efforts. And our own little efforts are going to prove to us that the prophecy is real and that we can and we will. And it's sticking the stick in. It's you picking up the stick and saying, I know that I always say to myself, I can't do this. And I know that I always say to myself that I have trouble with these. Everyone else has said it. I have trouble with these things. You know, I'm not good with names and dates. But catch ourselves saying it. Say, right, this is a moment for mindfulness. Am I really not good with this? Do I really not? I'm going to stick the stick in. I'm going to start experimenting and finding out. And if I have negative experiences, I'm not going to fall right back down that pathway. I'm going to stick the stick in again. And we're going to say, look, we're just going to go back a step and do it a bit more gently. We're going to trying things. So testing, trying, and being aware, mindfulness. These things can break the anxiety trap. These things are my rope that I'm throwing down to you so that you can hold on. These are ideas that we can pull ourselves out of the trap together. You know, these are my hands that I'm holding out. I just want you to try, I just want you to hold on. That's all. Because you'll learn that by trying, by holding on, you'll feel stronger. You know, together when you're holding that hand, it'll start to feel a little bit easier. And then we're off. Then we're on the cognitive triangle of positive happiness. Then we're starting our snowball rolling. You know, and it's not all one way. It's not, you're going to slip back and I'm going to have to come back down and you're going to have to scrabble a bit more. And, you know, we're going to get there. We're going to get you out of that hole. I wanted to finish. I wanted to say about waves. So let's just have a little image of waves because I wanted to say this. See how quickly I type waves then. I'm good at typing. See, I say that to myself. Sounds so cocky, doesn't it? But sometimes it's nice to say nice things about yourself, isn't it? And, you know, feel good about the things that you're doing. Enjoy them. Because that can lead to you being better at them and enjoying them more. And it doesn't have to be arrogant. You know, I don't think I'm the best typer in the world. I just enjoyed typing that quickly. Oh, that was fun. I think video games can help people's mental health. Your sense of achievement, the things you feel you can do. And I think people find it difficult to bridge that gap between, these aren't the waves I'm looking for. These aren't the waves I'm looking for. Waves. If people can find it difficult to bridge the gap between I can achieve this in my little world at home, on my game, and in the real world out there, they find it, that's that big jump, that's that mountain that our brain can't break down and finds, then I can't do it in the real world. If that's the thing where we have to say, hang on, I can take my aptitude, my sense of dedication, my ability to understand puzzles, my persistence, my patience, and I can apply them in the real world, and we can just do a small thing. You know, we can take one small step. Maybe it's not getting the job. Maybe it's just filling out the form. Maybe today I just fill out the one form. Maybe tomorrow I can do two, because yesterday I felt good about doing that one. Maybe I feel bad about doing two and it sets me back and I have to start again and just say, look, maybe it's not about, maybe I'm just going to start with the CV. You know, who knows? This waveform, this world, everything is in waves. Light comes in waves. Obviously we saw the sea, didn't we? That's in waves because the energy within it is in waves. We receive heat in waves, infrared. There's a lot of waves in the world. And our feelings are like that, aren't they? We're high, we're low. Things are good, things are bad. It's a sunny day, it's a sad day. That waveform pattern, our emotional waveform, is influenced by the waves of the world, the bad things coming in, the good things rising us up. They're all playing in together, you know. We've got that triangle, but we've also got the self-fulfilling prophecy, complex, triangle, mess. Everything is waves, including our ability to cope, our ability to push, our feelings of depression. So when you are in the low times, when you're having the sadness, it's important to realise that you don't even need a stick necessarily, because just taking it in, breathing it out, just being part of the waves, the good will come, the rise will come, if you can just ride out the lows. And allowing things to dissolve, because as bad as you can feel, it's not forever. It will pass like the waves. Yeah, I hope that made sense, what I'm trying to say there. Everything's waves. And that, for me, I find is a very important way of tackling these problems, because we've talked about circles, we talked about mountains, but it's not some one-line direction graph on the way up like that. Climbing out of depression, dealing with grief, the anxiety trap, the circle, the waves. I think it's more like waves. So you don't need a stick. You can hold on, be in the moment, use your mindfulness, use your awareness, allow things to pass, allow the wave to ease. Draw your breath and be prepared to make your own prophecy and say the next wave's going to be good. I'm going to ready myself for the good wave, and I'm going to try a little bit. I'm going to try and ride the good in my next step, rather than letting it drag you under and you never see the good for the bad. That's something I've offered there, isn't it? That's a way of fixing the anxiety trap. Get your stick in it, break yourself out, realise things are waves, let them dissolve, believe you can, and let's push on together. And we're going to finish. There's Mark Williams. Don't know why I brought him up. You can buy his book if you want. Maybe. We're going to finish by if, and this may or may not make me cry, so we're going to finish with if, and it may or may not make me cry. Let's go for it. If Rudyard Kipling. I can feel it already, I can feel it coming. There are many copies of this, so I hope I'm not breaking any sort of copyright. I want one that you can read, but you can't read any of these. So maybe I'll just open up the poem. There we are. This is relatively long, and we're not going to do it all today. I'm not even going to read it all today. I like to break it. It was taught to me. It was taught to me by my great mentor. In lines, in broken segments. We looked at it in its entirety, but we also broke it down in little lessons. He had like a folder. He'd written this poem out on the computer, printed it out and cut it up into single lines, and he would hand out these lines. You know, often it was pre-planned for the lesson, so we would all have a copy of this line to sit and look at. I used to keep mine. I've probably thrown them away now, but I used to keep them in a little thing. And sometimes he would think, oh, this is an appropriate time for one of these lines here. Oh, look, here's your line today. Read that and think about that. We're talking about it. It gives me a lot of strength. It's something I learned to help me cope. It might not be a thing that you learn to help you cope. You might have something different. You might have a different if. You might have a song. You might have a story. You might see someone in the world that you admire. You might have a favourite cuddly toy. that, comforts you. You might have something that symbolises your desire to push on, to cope, to be strong, that you turn to help you when you need to feel strength, a source of strength and light. You might have something like that in your life. If you don't, please borrow mine. Please, by all means, have a go at reading If and thinking about it, and seeing if you can draw some strength from it. And as I say, these lines break down so that different things are pertinent at different times. It is sexist at the end. It says a man, my son, and the son rhymes, so it's hard to adapt that to say which is more you'll be. But to his credit, my great mentor did adapt it, and when we received our copies, it said, you'll be, what did it say? I think it said you'll be a champion, because that's what we were aiming to be. By God, so many of us in the class did achieve that. Some far more than me as well. Some far more than me. And I'm feeling emotional about it, because there was a girl who was, I remember when I think about this lesson that I learned, the girl being there and it being brought to attention. It used to say a man, but we've got a girl in the class and she's not a man, so, we put a champion. And that girl went on to represent Great Britain in the Olympics. So this works. This works. Maybe more than this, maybe you need someone there with you. And I'm going to be here every Monday so we can do this. I'm not going to be crying every day on stream, but Mental Health Monday, I'm going to be here every Monday, and we're going to do this. I'm going to be here with you. The one I wanted to look at today, there was a little break, wasn't there? A little two-line. It's this one, I think. Because we're talking about trying things. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss and lose. Told you, didn't I? I told it was going to be hard. And lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. What does this mean? If you can put everything in, if you can make one heap of all your winnings. Now, I'm not talking about if you can risk all your money. I'm not asking you to go and gamble it on a lottery. Make one heap of all your winnings and risk it all on one turn of pitch and toss. It seems to be talking about gambling, doesn't it? But in a way, putting it all in. You see where I'm going with this? Putting it all in. It can be emotional. You can put your emotions into things. You can put your effort into things. You can put your heart into things. Depression, the anxiety trap can take it out. It can tell you not to. It can tell you not to even try. Don't risk it. Don't risk it. Anxiety increases your perception of risk. You need to risk it. If you can make one heap of all your winnings, if you can put all your heart, if you can put all your heart into it, you can give it a go. If you can hold on, if you can give it a go. You can try. Something that essentially is a risk. And risk it. Put everything in. And risk it on one turn of pitch and toss. Pitch and toss would have been an old game where they would throw horseshoes and something like that, like bowls or something. Risk it on one turn. Have one shot. Have a go. Put it all in. And pitch and toss, it's not guaranteed, is it? You know, it's not, if you give me this, I'll give you that. It's not, it's throw it, try. It might not work. In fact, it's part of the game. A lot of people fail. It wouldn't be a game like that otherwise, would it? It wouldn't, the roulette wheel would never spin if everyone won, would it? But you've got to make a heap of all your winnings. You've got to put it all in. You've got to be willing to risk it. You've got to be willing to take that loss. And that's what it says, and lose. Can you put it all in? Can you risk it and lose? And this is the important. This is where it gets important. So listen up. You've been here for an hour. You've been here for over an hour and a half. I congratulate you for staying with us. Thank you. Because you're going to get to the good bit now. You're going to get to the good bit. This is where it gets important. You make it one heap of, you put all in, one heap of everything. You risk it. You have a go. You try things and you lose. And then what you have to be able to do, this is if you can do this. You know, you find the strength in you to do this, because this is the path. If you can do this, and you can do this, you can do this. And start again at your beginnings. If you can try again. If you're not going to let the cycle tell you that it's not worth trying. You don't have to do it the next day. You don't have to bang your head against the brick wall. You know, you can take some time. But you want to start again. And you're going to start again at your beginning. Because you've risked everything. You've put it all in. So you're going to feel drained. You know, you're going to feel empty if you lose. If it doesn't go the way you want it to. But you're going to start again at your beginnings. Empty. And never breathe a word about your loss. I always thought this, in a sporting context, was a bit silly, because we don't talk about our losses. You know, you talk about you winning, don't you? You talk about the way you won. But we did talk about our losses. We talked about, oh, if only I hadn't done this. He hit me here and I should have hit him there. And if only I'd been quicker and I could have. These are things that we talked about with the grief cycle, didn't we? In the grief cycle. Bargaining. In this context, it's about not letting that happen to pull you down so you can start your beginnings. You're going to start again at your beginnings. You're going to build another heap of all your winnings. You know, you had this heap of winnings at the start. You've got to make a heap of it all. You put it all in, all your emotions, all your care, all your effort. You're going to make another heap of that. Winnings. In doing so, you're never going to breathe a word about your loss. You're not going to sit there and talk about why you can't do it because you feel anxious, because the problem is that this and that. That breathing the words about last time I went, I've had this big, yeah, we can talk about it. You know, it's not correct. You're never going to breathe a word about it. Of course, we're going to talk about it. But in the process, if we go back round this, making a heap of all your winnings and risking it on one turn of pitch and toss, when you're making that heap, when you're taking those risks the next time, you're not going to be talking about the losses of before. You know, a boxer doesn't go into the ring with thoughts of his previous losses. He thinks of how he's going to, they. A boxer thinks about how they are going to be victorious. They've got their plan and their belief. Otherwise you wouldn't be getting in the ring. You don't go in there talking about how last time I punched in the face. You're not telling yourself about your losses. And it goes on to say, and we're not going to go on to do much more of this. We're going to talk about these other times. But it goes on to say that you can force your heart and nerve and sign you. That's your, even without your heart and your nerve, they're your big bits, aren't they? They're your toughness. You're going to force your heart and your nerve. Your heart, big, strong heart, your nerve, powerful nerve. Sign you, that's the ropey, stringy, last, the last thing to break. You're going to force that to serve your turn long after they're gone. And you're going to hold on when there's nothing in you except the will that says hold on. I've told you this before. If you hold on, if you just hold on, we'll get through it. And lo and behold, we have. This has been Mental Health Monday. I have not been breaking down, like suffering with mental health. I've been feeling sad because someone that I know shared this really important information with me. They cultivated it. They were my mentor and my friend, and I feel thankful that they made me who I was, who I am, so I can be here with you to help you do the same. And it makes me sad, it makes me emotional, and that's fine, isn't it? It's fine. I'm not going to cut the camera and cry somewhere else. It's okay. I had some tears come out and I felt strong, Strong feelings made me feel sad. And those feelings are in me. They're in you. Your feelings are strong. Do you understand that? We're fragile and strong. Like this glass. If I smash this in the wrong way, it's going to fly into pieces. But of course, this is strong. And if I smash it in your face, you're going to feel it. Sorry. You know what I mean. We're fragile and we're strong. And your feelings are strong. And you can... That strength is the anxiety trap. That's how strong the anxiety trap is. The reason it's so strong is because it's you. Because it's your thoughts, your feelings. You're so strong that you can shut yourself down. And you're so strong that you can open up again. Yeah, are we happy with that? I'm going to sign off for True Binaural and ASMR, and then I'm going to stay on stream for a little bit and do a little monologue about veganism and cats. And then I'm going to go out and walk my dog. And then I'm going to feel differently. I'm going to be really pleased that we've done this together. I'm really, really grateful that we can share this together. So thank you. And to sign off, I'm just going to say, you be good, my little Pukkos. You be good. I hope I haven't got any boogers from crying. You be good. And if you can't be good, you're naughty.